Hello, fellow book lovers. Welcome back to the Bibliovert channel. My name is Jacqueline.
And I'm Allie.
And we're together. And we're in Allie's beautiful office this time. But we have decided to give you a little March wrap-up and talk about some of the books that we read. So some of them we have read together for the Bibliovertpodcast, but most of them we read on our own. So I'm kind of excited to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, you asked, can we do a March wrap-up? And I was like, I'm pretty sure I read like 2 books this month. I read 6, so...
And you're almost done with one.
The 6th one.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I'm counting it.
Yeah, count it. We still got
it'll
a
be
couple
done
more
by
days.
today, yeah.
A couple more days.
I'm unfortunately addicted to it.
Wow. In that case, let's go ahead and get started.
First book I read in February is Crescent City 2, House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. Obviously, because it came out last month, and started it in February, but did the bulk of the reading in March, so I'm counting it for March, which is ironic because I think in my bullet journal I was like, it's counting for February! Whatever. I think I ended up giving this one 4 stars. We have a very in-depth episode on it, so yeah, 4 stars overall. Really enjoyed it. Glad it is finally out in the world and people can stop like speculating and stuff.
So I also read Crescent City, House of Sky and Breath. I did not start it in February. I did not have time. I was originally trying to reread Crescent City 1, but I instead just decided to have a conversation with Jenna from Live a Thousand Lives and kind of go over all of the main points and then dive right in. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars.
Which I was not expecting you to do.
It was very surprising to me for me to be the one to like it instead of you, and I thought that it was going to be backwards. But yes, if you have read this and you want to talk spoilers, definitely feel free to DM us because I have a lot of thoughts. I don't think Allie's there yet.
No.
Ask for Jacqueline, don't ask for Allie. She's not ready. But yes, 5 out of 5 stars for me.
Excellent.
Yes.
Cool.
What's next for ya?
I needed to recover immediately.
Yes, you
so
did.
I went to a series that is becoming a comfort to me. I haven't obviously read them all yet because they're not all out.
Right.
I have one more right before the next book. The 5th book comes out in May. I'm very excited about it. Yeah, so I read book 3 and I'm gonna save 4 and then I'll have 5 ready to go. But it is the Bergman Brothers series by Chloe Lies, I think is how you say her, and it follows the siblings of they're not all brothers. The first 2 are brothers, the 3rd one is the sister and the brother-in-law.
Cute.
And I love this series because it does a lot of disability representation and a lot of both mental and physical disabilities. So this one is a like you're trying to save your marriage relationship. I go crazy over pre-established relationships that are like working to stay together. Oh my god. And I already love the series. I already love her writing. I think it's incredible. I think everyone should read the Bergman Brothers series. So I'm so excited about book 4. I'm so excited about book 5. This one was a 5 out of 5 stars. Might be a contender for my favorite book of the whole year. And the only other one fighting for it is the first book in the series right now. So they are at spots 1 and 2. So Bergman Brothers, highly recommend.
We've talked about this series a lot. I haven't read it yet.
You're gonna love them.
And I think we might do them on the podcast. And so I've been like, okay, I'm gonna wait to read them. But that's not until like July. Is that when we have it scheduled?
No, I think it might be in August.
Like, I don't want to wait because you keep reading them and you keep gushing about it. So it's been actual torture. But I'm really glad that you're still enjoying it. I love that. Makes me happy. So the next book that I read was actually a reread, and this is Sky in the Deep by Adrienne Young. So over on our Patreon, we have a Sisterhood of the Traveling Book, and there are like 20 of us involved in it, but we're separated into groups of like 4 or 5, and we each choose our favorite book, send it on to the next person, and they will annotate it and put all of their thoughts and then mail it to the next person. So by the time that you get your book back, it has been read by 4 or 5 of like your friends, and it's filled with their annotations. And so this was Massey's choice, and it was such a fun reread. The first time I read this book, I gave it 5 stars, and I think immediately after I reread it, I was like, okay, 5 stars, done. But the more that I thought about it, I think I may have lowered it down to 4. It really doesn't matter. It's still great. Like, I love this story. It's super fun. It's very it's like Viking, which is kind of fun because we don't see that super often. So a lot of Viking lore, and Adrienne Young's writing is so lyrical and beautiful. I think there were some things that I was wanting a little bit more depth in, and maybe some, like, the romance to be more fleshed out, because I think I was kind of like, okay, but why do y'all like each other?
I feel that about her Fable series.
Where it's like beautiful, but like, what do you like about one another kind of feeling. So I love this book. I loved it before, I loved it now, but I think I did still have like a few questions here or there. So
cool. Yeah, it's a good one.
It was a good one.
And then, because I was told that I needed to read this book.
By a lot of people.
Many people told me that I needed to read this book.
I'm gonna have to like...
So I read this book. I read a different book that kind of left me hanging. I wasn't really loving it. So this one was recommended to me as a pick-me-up for that one. And I really, really enjoyed it, but I don't think it quite lived up to the hype that everyone was selling me
crying
for. Sweet Girl by Jack Whitney. We actually, our patrons are good friends with Jack Whitney, and so they were highly recommending her book. They were highly recommending this, and it was a Valentine's themed romance, almost very similar to Neon Gods, where you've got like the Greek gods that are in modern life. Yes. So Cupid is a real person, and he runs a dating app, and he has a fling with one of the people. It was very nice. But I don't think I ended up giving it a star rating, because
that's a shame, because it was one of my favorite books of February. It was not overhyped for me.
I'm very glad.
I very much so enjoyed it.
Good. Which is, I don't think you normally enjoy.
Yes, right.
So,
yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I read it.
I don't think it was bad in any way, shape, or form. I think it fell short of what I was expecting, based on what everyone else was saying.
Yeah. I read it during the Super Bowl.
So. Yeah, I'll do it. And I'm a football girl, so.
Yeah, me too. But I didn't really care a whole lot about.
You are a football girl.
I was just like, I'm over it. Thanks, goodbye. So the next one that I read was a little rom-com, and it was Just Haven't Met You Yet by Sophie Cousins. I'm not gonna lie, I loved this
I still
book.
need to read it.
I loved it. So it was interesting because a lot of our girls have read it, and they were like, oh, I didn't like really click with the main character, and some of it was kind of cringy. And so I think knowing that and then reading it, like that helped kind of ease my expectations of it. And I think it's very much like it played out like a movie in my mind, which was super fun. So it's basically about this girl who has romanticized love and meet cutes her entire life. And she writes for not a newspaper, like an online publication kind of thing. And the whole thing is like, how'd you meet your significant other? And so she's kind of been like, I want to have this like, sweep you off your feet kind of moment.
Don't we all?
Yes. So according to her entire life, the story she's heard about her parents has been this like super romantic meet cute. And so she, for a journalism piece, is like, I'm going to go back and recreate, like, everything that happened. So she goes to Jersey, which is one of the Channel Islands, and she, like, has this meet cute with this stranger in the airport, and they, like, switch luggage, and she's hoping it's him. And basically, it's, like, learning that maybe her parents' love story wasn't quite what it really was. And then she may have been romanticizing love a little too much and wasn't in front of her in a different way. So it's like a lot about her maturing and realizing. Like, so I kind of like, because I was able to see like, okay, we're needing a drastic, like, this was our starting point. This is where we're ending kind of growth moment. And I just thought it was hilariously like cringy sometimes. So I gave it 4 stars.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought it was really cute.
Next one. I have been saving this one.
Yes, you have. Kind of like me with the Bergman brothers.
Yeah, it's been like over a year, I think. Maybe 2. Yeah, it came out July of last year, so not a year. Not quite a year, almost. But everyone was obsessed. So we decided to do it as a podcast episode. It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. I have read 4 other Tessa Bailey books and really enjoyed them. I was nervous about this one because it is loosely based on Alexis from Schitt's Creek. And I am not a huge Schitt's Creek fan. I don't dislike it. I can take it in small doses. Yeah. But like, as I cannot binge it, I get too much secondhand embarrassment. So I was not like anticipating being over the moon about this book. I'm obsessed.
So good.
I'm obsessed.
So good.
10 gajillion stars.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed.
Yep.
I love it.
Yep. Yeah.
The Deadliest Catch still has such a sweet place in my heart, and the moment that it was included, I was like, sold. We're done.
I love it's like a sweet, tender place in your heart.
You didn't reread this one.
No, I reread it back in December.
Okay,
so
cool.
Yes. It's so
Gotcha.
good. It's so funny. I mean, it is truly...
I laughed out loud.
Like, it hurts.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's interesting. We're still kind of newish to the romance genre. I mean, I joined like last May, so maybe not quite so new. But realizing that there's a difference between romance and rom-coms, that's an important distinction for me, because I think I want to laugh more than be like, oh, I'm like, my heart's been ripped out, and I don't know, maybe I need to read more of those. But I really like when there's humor, and it's like, to be a romance author, like, they have wit. They are funny.
Yeah.
I wish I could.
Truly.
That's amazing. Yeah. Amazing. The next book that I read, it is our March Patreon Book Buddy read, and it is Dead Moon's Rising by Jack Whitney, same author of Sweet Girl, which I really liked it. A lot. Dead Moon's Rising is an adult dark fantasy romance, and I'm not gonna lie, Jack Whitney's got balls. Like, I finished this book and I was like, I was hoping that was the direction that she was going to take the book in, and she did it. And I was so impressed. I was so impressed with her because she committed to something that I don't think a lot of authors have the gusto to commit to. So it's very high fantasy, a lot going on. It's quite spicy. But definitely check the trigger warnings before reading this book. We are getting to like interview her when we have our Patreon Book Buddy Read chat with our Bryce level patrons, and I am so excited. And I've been waiting to start book 2 until after the chat's over. And so I'm really, really excited because it's this weekend, and I can't wait to just be like, I can't believe you did that. Like, it's really good. Anyway, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was just like overall really impressed with everything. So I will say that Jack is an indie author, and she's self-published. So there were a few like grammatical errors or things like that sprinkled here and there, but for the most part, it didn't bother me. I did see it, but I think she worked really hard at getting like a really good editor for the remainder of her series. But that did not put me off to the book when reading it. So
I mean, if I can do it then. So.
But I do feel like it's worth mentioning, just as like a heads up. I don't know. It didn't bother me. So I read Gallant by V.E. Schwab. This is my second Schwab book to read. I read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. And, okay, first off, this is all I could think about the entire time while reading this book. Do you remember the Madeline books? Like the children's books where she's like...
in the yellow.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's French and she lives in like a convent and she has to walk in 2 straight lines. You know, like super adorable. This book is the Madeline books meets Stranger Things, written in the tone of the series of unfortunate events. There's a lot to unpack there, I know, But like, that's all I can think about when I read this. So, I read a review and they absolutely said it best. It was by Nat. And she said that it was kind of like written as a children's book, but with like a tone of horror that like, I wouldn't have been able to read this as a kid.
Is it a YA book?
Yes, it is. But like, it's very
I mean,
eerie.
I get the series of unfortunate events, and I definitely can see Stranger Things.
Yeah. She just grew
Is there
up.
an upside down?
Yeah, essentially. Yes, there is. And like, I think that's sad.
I mean, I really like Stranger Things, but what I like about Stranger Things is not the horror part of it.
Right.
It's everything else.
Exactly. So there were definitely things that I enjoyed about this book. And it like wasn't by any means like horror or scary. I just wouldn't have been able to read it as a child.
Yeah.
But then when it's written with like an air of for children, because I think the main character is like 13 or 14.
No.
Yeah, like really, really young. So I think that V.E. Schwab's writing is beautiful. However, I think that it's slower on the plot part of it. And then when we finally got to the plot, it was the last like 30 pages of the book, and then it was super, super rushed. And I was kind of like, how did we get here? Like, how did all of these things just like perfectly fall into place without any thought, and it's just done kind of thing? So I think I was kind of underwhelmed, which I know isn't popular, and I didn't enjoy The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, but I still want to read her other works. But I'm very curious to see if like Schwab and I just don't mesh writing style wise. But I'm not sure.
She's a medium mesh for me.
Really?
So I've only read this Savage Song of hers. And I didn't dislike it, but I found myself often wanting more. Like, she does not write romances.
No.
Like, that is never like a significant focal point in her books. And as a relational person, I typically need something. So she's a medium mesh for me.
I really want to read Darker Shades of Magic.
Yeah.
Like, that one is very high on my list. I'm not gonna lie though, after finishing this one, I was kind of like, but am I gonna like it? But I think because it was one of her earlier works that maybe this is just like her growth has taken her in her writing journey. But I'm not sure. So I gave it 3 stars because it was just kind of like, you know, for me. Like, I didn't hate it, but I just didn't love it. So the next one that I read was also for our Sisterhood of the Traveling book. This one was Holly's choice. And y'all, I didn't want to read it. I did not want to read it. I was like, this book is going to put me in a bad headspace. That's like truly what I was worried about. And so I was like, but I'm gonna do it because I love Holly, and like, I don't know. Anyway. So it is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, and you can see these were Massey's notes, and then mine were the blue ones. So we like, it's so fun. I love like getting to flip through people's notes. But this book, definitely check out the trigger warnings because there is like suicide ideation and depression and a lot of talk about some darker themes. However, it was just like really sweet. And I can see how this book might not relate to everyone in their mental health journey, and it can be seen as unhelpful for some people. I can completely understand that. So if you've read this book and you didn't enjoy it, or if you feel like it's not going to be good for you, then like, I totally respect that. But it did speak to me in like a very sweet way. And so I was just very surprised by how much I liked it, and just like how much hope there was in this book. And I think the main like takeaway that I took from it was that we as humans need to give ourselves a lot more grace than we do. And it's so easy for me to give grace to other people, but then hold myself to an unrealistic expectation and think I don't deserve it. And so hearing that message portrayed in this of like, no, like give yourself some grace and like give yourself a break was just a really sweet reminder for me. So I cried, I laughed. It was just really sweet. So it was very impactful for me personally, but I also totally get it if it's not for everyone.
What I read while I was on the cruise. Number 2, Hook, Line, and Sinker. Immediately after it happened one summer, I was very excited about this book, and we are doing a podcast episode on it for in-depth, detailed thoughts. I did not like it as much as the first one. I did love it. I wanted more. Like, after I finished it the second to last day of the cruise. And I would be doing things like getting ready for dinner or getting dressed, whatever. And I would be thinking about how I was excited to keep reading Hook, Line, and Sinker. And like how I was like excited to get to the next. And I had to remind myself that I had already finished it. It was already over. So,
which is kind of a nice problem to
absolutely,
be in,
absolutely. That I enjoyed it so much that I wanted there to be more.
Yeah.
Probably, I would say 70% of the book is a lot of like development.
Yes.
And then the last 30% is the fruits of that development, but like you're not seeing, you spend more time getting to the relationship than
seeing the relationship.
Going through the problems within the relationship. And there are significant like things that like are lifelong traumas that should be much more drawn out. So I found myself wanting a lot more of them working together in the relationship than like working against each other to get to the relationship. So I think I gave it like 4 stars because again, I enjoyed it. I just wanted more from it. So
I also read it. And I liked it more.
Really?
I did. I loved it.
Yeah.
So much. I mean, like, getting emotional. I related to I have never seen myself in a character more than I did in Hannah. Like, and not just like, oh wow, that's me, but like, wow, that's what I want to be. Like, I want to be that kind of partner. I want to be that kind of sibling. Like, she is so selfless.
Yes.
Like, just, but I mean, she has her faults. Like, she's not just this like pristine, perfect character. But I just absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I can't wait to talk to you about it because we haven't recorded our episode yet. It comes out on Monday. But I think one of the things that I liked so much about it is that we saw a role reversal for genders that are typically written in books. Obviously not like typical in relationships, but just what we see typically, where one of the characters has a lot of, I don't want to use the word sexual trauma, but like a lot of sexual expectations put on them, but it was the male character. And then the steadfastness that we see in Hannah is a lot of times what we see written for male characters. And so I just think it was so cool to see that switched. I agree. The ending, I don't want to use the word rushed, but I feel like it ended before I was ready for it to, because I think I was kind of like, there were some things that they were working through that I wanted to see how they worked through them together as a couple. And that would have been really important for me to see personally. Yeah. So even though I still gave it 5 stars, that was my one qualm about it. But like, I just really loved it. I just really, really loved it. 2
of the most dimensional characters that I've ever seen in a rom-com.
There was a lot more complexity to it than I was expecting, because we talked in our It Happened One Summer episode where we were kind of giving our predictions, and you were talking like, is this going to feel very middle school? Or like kind of what our middle school generational like lives were like, of the music and the
mopey emo
feelings, and kind of like the Playboy feel, like all those kinds of things. Like, is this going to feel very high school, middle school kind of feeling? And they were so complex, and it was, what's interesting is because they were a lot more in their heads, and there wasn't a lot of plot, and that is like the opposite of what I like. I'm like, I need plot. I don't want to hear what you're thinking. Like, I don't want it. And this time, I think because it felt so similar to my thought process, I enjoyed it. So 5 out of 5 stars for me. I loved it. I loved it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. My last book, the book that I am currently reading, Hook, Line, and Sinker, was not very spicy.
No, it wasn't.
At all.
Yeah.
So, of course, I was like, cool, time for a spicy book. Except for the fact that the book I'm reading now is less spicy. than hook, line, and
How
sinker.
did you find this one out of curiosity? Oh, that's right.
So, yeah, this one, I saw it on a reel where it gave like book recommendations, and I was like, I'm gonna try that one out because I liked the other books that were in the reel. And
Please tell me his name's Miles.
it's his last name. Yeah. So, God, it gets worse.
Is he a pilot?
No.
The tagline is
Oh, no.
the Miles High Club.
It's a band of brothers. Hang on. So the name of the book is The Stopover, the Miles High Club, and you find out he has a one night stand on a layover with the girl that he rode on the plane with, and then a year later they like reconnect because she now works for his company. And she finds out that the Miles High Club is the group of women that the brothers have slept with. That gets brushed under in a single sentence.
Always like
the brothers, like there's all the brothers, so everyone they've ever slept with because Miles is their last name.
So not just
him
in airports, on airplanes.
No.
Because
all of the women that they've ever slept with.
How big is the group?
Huh?
How big is the group?
Oh, I have no idea. This is only brother number 1. But it's a pretty big group. Like, also, what group of brothers, if you're, anyways.
How do you connect? Like,
anyways.
Connections. Anyways.
I'm trying to think of a really gentle way to say this because I don't want to yuck anyone's yum.
Right. No yucking anyone's yum.
This is the yuckiest.
This is the yum that I'm yucking the most.
Yuckiest of yucks. I am having so much fun reading it. I'm at 80-something%. It's like 520 pages. It is a long book. There's maybe 7% spicy time in the whole book.
That's
so many faded blacks.
Oh,
so many fades of blacks.
That's not what we signed up for.
That's not what we signed up for. Truly, there's no, I want to be respectful, I really do.
Yeah.
It is truly some of the worst writing I've ever read in my entire life. Funny, like I'm having a comedic time laughing at everything that's happening. And so much happens within every chapter. Within every chapter, there is a full plot, but there's not necessarily a thoughtful plot overall. It is all over the place. Every chapter is a wild ride about how much I hate this. The characters, truly, both of them are awful.
And yet here we are.
I cannot think of one redeeming quality except for the fact that I laugh out loud so hard when I'm reading this book. Like let me try and find she gets super mad at him because he like sleeps with his masseuse on a regular, like I'm talking, this is
like while they're together?
Yeah. At first they're just kind of like
fling.
Not even, there's a lot of like, he calls her a bitch, she calls him an asshole. Like it is truly terrible. Nobody treats me as bad as you do, Emily. And I like it though.
I like it.
It's truly so bad. It's you know how in Touch of Darkness when Persephone like starts to do all of this stuff and she just makes herself look more and more incompetent the more she like throws tantrums and like she says she's good at something but she then like does the stupid. Emily is that to the max. And there's no like I think it's an attempt to be clever. With like trying to solve the mystery of what's happening at the company. Oh yes, there's a mystery. Their stories it's a news company. Their stories are being stolen by their competitor, and their competitor beat them. Yes, so they're trying to find the rat, but like it's an undercurrent to how many times Emily and Jameson get into a fight, and Jameson at the corporate Jameson is mean and terrible, and he's the big bad boss, but Jay at home is the sweet side. It's like a Jekyll and Hyde, but both of them have a Jekyll and Hyde. Her thought processes, like she's like, on Wednesday, I was sure he had feelings for me. On Thursday, I was sure that he was not sure he had feelings for me. And like just going on it, just truly terrible. So much fun. So that's what I'm reading right now, and I'll probably finish it tonight because I need the pain to end. And I have come this far. Every Goodreads review is like DNF'd at 67%, DNF'd at 65%, DNF'd at 48%, DNF'd at 32%. I'm like, I'm making it. I am gonna make it, and I'm gonna give my honest review out for 100% of this book.
So what's next for you?
Next is gonna be Dead Moon's Rising. I'm gonna try and crank it out before Sunday, and then War of the Two Queens.
Oh, bless us. All right.
Your last one. We're not ending on great notes this month.
I read These Hollow Vowels by Lexi Ryan. I regretted reading These Hollow Vowels by Lexi Ryan. Okay, if this book had come out in 2009, we would have been all over this. I mean, it was written for 2009. I written for 2009.
2009 had some good books.
Yes, it did. But it's very much the okay, I feel like it's worth saying I could never write a book. So much respect to anyone who is able to. Like, mad respect. However, the things that I personally did not like about it, the main character felt very pick-me. And very like, I'm not like other girls, and I don't wear dresses, and I'm not beautiful, and then proceeds to find herself in a love triangle. That is 97% of the entire plot of this book is the love triangle. And should I, will I, won't I, like all of that kind of stuff. And everything was very convenient. So like, she's like
Queen's Assassin?
Yes, where it's like, I need to try and get this object. Okay, I'm gonna ask this person to give me this object, and he gave it to me. Like, literally, there's no amount of like ability to like steal stuff. And she's supposed to be the greatest thief in the land.
Like Queen's Assassin?
Exactly. So I think that kind of frustrated me a little bit. However, the plot, the concept, the idea of the plot is good. And I'm like, I like what was in here. I don't like how it was put in here. And of course it ends on a cliffhanger.
Of course it does.
Like, and of course you see it coming, but then it happens. I don't know. Probably. I don't know. But so anyway, I know I'm not giving it a very glowing review. I know a lot of people liked it. It's definitely more on the YA scale. There was surprisingly
I was about to say, I heard it was
a
a spicy YA. Like Serpent and Dove level spicy.
Yeah, honestly, I think Serpent and Dove might be a little bit spicier.
Okay.
Yeah, there are differences. Because it's kind of fade to black, but then there's one scene that's not, but it's also, anyway, I digress. So, I don't know. I know a lot of people really like this book, and I'm glad that you do. I mean, this cover's gorgeous, but unfortunately it just wasn't for me. So the last book that I'm reading, I think I'm going to probably finish it tonight. I'm like 81% of the way through, and it is For the Wolf by Hannah F. Whitten. This book, again, has a very fascinating concept for me. I really enjoy the concept. And it was even pitched as a Bear and the Nightingale kind of book, which I have read, and I enjoyed it. However, it is very lyrical, and the plot and the pacing is very slow. I think The Bear and the Nightingale has a lot more folklore woven into it than For the Wolf necessarily does, because this is like a purely fantastical country. The Bear and the Nightingale is very like Eastern European mythology inspired. So I'm enjoying it. It's a little slow for me. I also, like I was reading earlier and I was like, I have no idea what's going on. And I think that that's made up a fairly significant percentage of this book, where I'm like, I'm having a good time, but I have no idea what's happening. So it's about, like, essentially the whole plot of this book is that the first daughter is for the kingdom and the second daughter is for the wolf. And so she's a twin. So her first, like her older sister, is going to become queen one day, and she essentially has to be sent into the woods as like a sacrifice.
Nice.
And on her 20th birthday, she arrives in the woods, and of course, nothing is what it seems. But her twin sister is determined to get her back, and but unfortunately is doing it in a way that is harming the sister. So it's very fascinating, very interesting. It's dual POV, but the oldest sister, the queen, you only get like 5 chapters of her POV, but like her love and her devotion is there, and it's fascinating to see how it manipulates her as a character. So there are certainly things that I like about it, but it's very lyrical, very slower paced, and communication is not one of their main focuses. So as of right now, I'm thinking I'm sitting at a 3-star,
okay,
but like a happy 3-star, you know, like I liked it, not like I felt nothing 3-star. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. And then I will also be starting War of Two Queens by Jennifer L. Armentrout, which is going to be an episode, I think in three weeks or something like that. So we're giving ourselves a little bit of a buffer to read it. Wow. That is it for this video. We really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to our channel. If you would like to check out our episodes of the Bibliovert podcast, we are on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and Google Play. You can also find us on Instagram at the Bibliovert podcast. Again, we love talking to people and hearing your thoughts on books. So if you have read any of these, please feel free to DM us on Instagram. We would love to chat with you. And we also have a Patreon that is so much better than we could ever deserve. Our little family, it's just the best, and we have a lot of fun, and we are doing a lot of Patreon perks this year. So you can join our book buddy reads that we do every month. You can join the Sisterhood of the Traveling Book, and then a lot of the other stuff that we have going on. So definitely go check that out as well. But we hope you have a fantastic week. Happy reading, and we'll see you next time. We haven't done this in a really long time. Like 2 years.
Probably a reason. Remember 5 minutes ago when I was like, I'm surprised the cat's not causing any problems. But it was the midnight love. Golly. It's gonna die.